The post office. Here we go again. Another. At this point, it's like outrage mob conspiracies. This one was brewing over last week. They've been pushing a narrative that basically all the issues the post office is having, and basically the struggles over the money and the postmaster general being put in. One of the two is basically, I forget. There's a postmaster general, and then there's like the inspector general of the post office, and one of them's assigned by the executive, and the other one is like I think it's like a bureaucratic position. I don't know. Post office is a mess. It's been a mess, and President Trump talked about it being a mess actually back in during the 2016 election. Amazon essentially every time we raise the amount of money we're essentially subsidizing the post office with, we're basically just subsidizing Amazon and all these companies that essentially abuse it, and the post office is just bleeding money. So there needs to be reforms into what's going on. Not to mention the fact that basically every place they've tested this universal mail-in voting stuff, the post office has utterly failed. They've lost stuff. Things have arrived late. Stuff being routed through states it's not supposed to be routed through. And that was what the president had said. He was like, post office is a mess. Not only are they basically not profitable, basically they don't even break even. They just constantly in debt. They're subsidizing big companies and they can't get their crap together. It's a bad idea to even attempt mail-in votes, universal mail-in votes, if that's actually, if even if you think that's a thing, they're not ready right now. They're in the middle of a turmoil. So the president had been saying this for months, and then finally, basically, all these mail-in voting crap happened in Jersey and all these other places, and it's just been a disaster. Like 25% of the votes being thrown out, ballots missing, ballots lost, ballots showing up people's houses that they didn't order. So is that a post office thing? Are they screening it? I don't know what's going on. We had a ballot arrive for somebody in our house who did not request one. Yeah. The ballot, the mail-in ballot, you're supposed to register for and, provide an ID to be able to get, it just showed up just somehow. And guess what? It's the only registered Democrat in my house. She will not be voting for the Democrats, but, they sent her a totally, basically, fill-outable ballot for votes, and she didn't request it or authorize it. So there's going to be tons and tons and tons and tons of fraud with this mail-in ballot stuff. And we know it. President Trump knows it, and we've been saying it for, ever since this argument started, and that was even years ago. But now that basically the verdict's out and they've tested it already and it's a disaster, and even Dr. Fauci said basically if you can go to the grocery store, there's no reason people can't vote in person. The new thing is basically Trump is secretly destroying the post office, or he's destroying I guess not secretly, whatever, he's destroying the post office so that he can steal the election. Because they're demanding billions of dollars and they don't want to reform, and they want more money for this voting stuff they're already failing at. And because we said no, this is a bad idea, and President Trump wants to actually make some changes, all of a sudden that means you're tampering with the election. I mean, I've seen there's conspiracies about mailboxes disappearing, like that kind of weird stuff that it's just I just scratch my head. Because mailboxes are constantly either moving and getting replaced and being removed. I mean, there used to be like 2 on my street and they're gone, but that was a couple of years ago, and they've been gradually getting rid of those because they're not super secure, and the mail, they were trying to change the way they do things. Like this stuff's all like in motion. It's been in motion, but that's the new thing, is that people are simping and white knighting for the post office, and like all of a sudden it's infallible, and because. I mean, it's unbelievable. Like basically, if Trump criticizes anything, they come to its rescue. I saw the police unions endorsed President Trump, and he's not a huge union guy in terms of the way he wants the laws to go about. But the difference is he doesn't hate these people. And they came out and they supported him, and now all of a sudden you see a bunch of articles saying that police unions are bad and they're not held accountable. It's like, and some of the times they're actually correct. And it's like, yeah, but we've been saying that for years on the right here, and now you're concerned because they chose Trump over your your guy's disaster of a candidate, and it's a mess. It's like, and that's whatever. I'm just commenting because it's like there's I know this is going to be the new Russia conspiracy, and they're gonna demand that they investigate that. What did he know about the post office and when did he know it and all this other crap. Like it's just it's the new thing, and we're not going to hear the end of it. I'm pretty sure that's the one they're going to roll with because it creates enough of a distraction. Well, for example, the Russia probe, right? The reason that went on for as many years as it did, and it was as much of a problem, is because very, very quickly, the president, once he took office, because essentially Secret Service alerted him, he realized that him and his campaign members had been spied on illegally by the Obama administration. So then the Democrats' immediate pivot to cover that up was to essentially pretend that no, there was Russian collusion, they were there. Pretend that for 3 years as the investigation, and then come up with nothing. And people still believe it. And with this voter fraud stuff, and with these failures of the post office, and basically the money being a problem, and corruption, and them not firing people who really need to be fired. I have a family member who works with the postal office employees, and it's not. And the main issues at the post office are not your local mailman. They're pretty good. It's the bureaucratic side, the big transfer hubs. There are a lot of issues, and there are a lot of people who should not be working for the post office who are working for the post office. So ask somebody who contracts mail delivery, and to ask them how the post office people that they have to deal with, how they think about their paychecks. Let's just say how their taxpayers funding those people. It's a mess. But that's going to be the thing, is that basically the post office is corrupt, mail-in ballot stuff is corrupt, and there's 1,000 different issues, right? And Trump's been saying this for years. So now the solution is, instead of having to face those problems and make up some kind of conspiracy about Trump and stealing election and all this other crap. And it's funny, too, because it's like basically they usually accuse President Trump of doing whatever they're doing. So, basically the Clintons were taking Russian money and Uranium One, and they were doing all this stuff with the Russians for the money. And it turns out Trump's administration had nothing to do with the Russians. In fact, the Russians don't like the Trump administration because he was really tough on them. It's a mess. And it's just that I know this is going to be the new thing. And there's going to be no talking to people about, like, because it's complicated. It's a complicated situation. The narrative that the meme they have is Trump, Orange Man bad. Orange Man want to steal election. Orange Man against the voter, whatever, mail-in voting. So therefore, he hates the post office. He's trying to do it that way. It's never going to end. It's never going to end. That's going to be the thing. And when they lose, which I'm pretty sure they're going to lose in November. Or if they cheat or whatever they do, you're never gonna hear the end of it. It's gonna be, it wasn't legitimate because he did this to the post office. I think there's probably gonna be a Michael Moore film about it or some crap. It's gonna be the same. It's gonna be the same thing as the Russia investigation. And I mean, I'm hoping less people fall for it this time, but I don't have any hope because I've been seeing it's the same crew. People just get outraged. They just don't have a clue. It's a mess. It makes it impossible to talk to these people on the left. You can't have a civil conversation when that's where they start from. Is the headline of Trump stealing election, and then they've checked out at that point. They didn't know about all the post office problems. They didn't even know the president had talked about the post office and had been doing that since when he was first running. But now that it's relevant to. Basically, the Democrats are making us think about it. Now, all of a sudden, oh no. Whatever. It's obnoxious.